Legend of Grimrock is a callback to a genre that's been lost, obscured by the mists of time, the so-called blobber genre, or to you and me, the first-person party-based dungeon crawler type of video game, nicknamed appropriately because the player moves an entire party around as a single unit, or a blob. You might have even played some of these before, games like the original Might and Magic series, the Bard's Tale games, the Eye of the Beholder D&D series, Stonekeep, Dungeon Master and Wizardry all have some serious chops, but they aren't exactly all over storefronts these days. The genre is quite niche. It was rather empty for a while too, until into the arena steps Legend of Grimrock, a 3D grid-based dungeon crawler from developers Almost Human, a 4-man Finnish indie team. The story setup is quite simple, and frankly didn't even need one, but it is appreciated. So you play as a group of prisoners that get thrown into the top of a mountain dungeon and forgiven all your crimes, provided you can of course escape. Thing is, nobody ever has done. It's basically just a way to get rid of criminals, so good luck. You take control of a group of up to 4 characters that you can customize and try to do just that. Easy, right? Well, no, not quite. During the incredibly well-designed and expansive descent into the depths of Mount Grimrock, you'll discover a ton of fiendish puzzles and fiendish, well, fiends, ranging from humble giant snails to strange mushroom creatures, elementals and some other more dangerous and much spookier things that I'll leave to the imagination. You'll fight your way through the halls and have to uncover the secrets and answers by examining the environment, solving puzzles and riddles, putting together clues, and ultimately opening the next way forwards. You'll do most of this primarily through just clicking stuff. The game is heavily mouse driven, but there is an iPad version that I can't give any opinion on since I played with a mouse and keyboard. Movement is all WASD based, forwards, backwards, strafe left and right, with Q and E to turn left and right 90 degrees. You move in a grid based system, so it's pretty easy to work out where you are in relation to everything else, and the map gets drawn automatically as you go, allowing you to understand each floor more easily. Of course, you can turn that feature off if you're feeling more hardcore, but that's up to you. You can also leave custom notes on the map to remind you of whatever you'd like, and I would recommend it so that you don't go absolutely nuts looking for that one random hidden button on a wall somewhere for 30 minutes. Yes, I did do this a couple of times actually, so make notes, it'll help. The rest of your interaction comes from looking around with mouse 2 and clicking on objects and things around the environment to interact with them. It's pretty intuitive from my experience. See a torch on the wall? Click it to pick it up. A lever? Click it to flip it. How about items on the ground? Yeah, you got it by now, right? You'll also find hidden buttons in sneaky places for a boatload of secrets in the game, ranging from small bits of loot, a handy tip here or there, or even entire sections of floors that can open up to you, so it does absolutely pay to be attentive. Now granted, this does mean licking all of the wall textures to check for secrets, and this can get tedious for some players, but they're frequent enough that I found it paying off more than enough times. And it helps that the wall textures in this game are particularly well detailed, so it's at least pleasing to look at. So then there's combat. Ah yes, you have to remove those monsters somehow. They can't simply be ignored because they will physically block you from progressing in these tight corridors and hallways. Combat involves simply equipping weapon types or casting magic spells by clicking on the character's hands in the bottom right of your screen. There's a dice roll sort of system for accuracy and damage based on all kinds of different things like how the weapon works, how your character's attributes are spent, and how many levels you have in certain skills. Magic is quite special in that you have to know which runes make which spells yourself as the player to actually cast them. So while casting a lot of complicated spells can be fiddly, magic is a hugely powerful tool. It never misses, it does take up mana much more quickly than simply attacking, but it can make combat a lot of fun in a tight situation. Getting that clutch spell cast off to finish that enemy off in the heat of combat feels great. You'll find yourself dancing around enemies and avoiding their attacks constantly, which means managing your movement skills carefully and effectively, as well as facing them and retaliating as best you can. Things start out easy enough, but they do not stay that way. Oh no. And you'll often find yourself suddenly surprised by enemies having different mechanics and different ways to attack you other than simply just facing you. Yeah, be warned. To briefly touch on character creation, there's only 3 classes in the game, Fighter, Rogue and Mage, but all 3 can have a few different roles. Each class has a specific skill set and each character can put points into those skills as they level. So you can have a really tanky fighter who wears armour, or you can give them weapon skills to improve their damage. You can have an evasive frontline rogue sort of tank, or you can put them on the backline and give them a missile weapon skill. Even mages can find use on the front line with staff defense, but you'll likely put them in the back and specialize them in 1 or 2 elemental skills instead. There's even a few different races in the game that have different strengths and weaknesses. Minotaurs make good fighters, for example. Lizardmen make good rogues, insectoids make good mages, and humans are well balanced all round. But this is all relative. You could do anything that you like by putting your attribute points where you want them and giving your characters different traits. It's not super deep stuff, but it's enough to keep you interested in that next level up and what you'll be able to do with it. I haven't even talked about the setting, or just about anything really. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of Grimrock, but I'm okay with that for this review. Legend of Grimrock is one of those games that you've likely heard of a number of times, looked into and gone, yeah, that seems decent, and then either played it immediately or just forgotten it existed. Maybe it's time to actually play it yourself though, eh? It's absolutely worth it. The discovery of everything in the game is so satisfying in a way that makes you feel smart when you progress. Every time. Every time. And if you don't fancy playing it yourself, then I did stream a full playthrough on the channel if you want to go and watch it instead. So then, prisoner, will you take the plunge into the mountain, or will you choose to forever rot in this cell? I'm MagicalMike, and I'm Quids in with this game. Cheers.